this particular piece of land used to be next land to where I lived with my first husband and 3 children. And one day we took a walk over to this adjoining land and began to pick blackberries and walk on the rocks. There was an old fallen down house, and at some point that the land came up for sale. And at that time 120 acres was under $30,000, and we bought it. I actually bought it with money my parents had given me. So I always thought of it as my place. And 10 years later, got divorced, moved away from the adjoining land, came to this land, built a house, and that's a very abbreviated version, but lived in it in the summers. Thought this is my summer place. I was teaching full-time in New York City, coming here for my respite, and that was a kind of classic pointy farmhouse, painted red appropriately, which burned to the ground in 2014. So, in between the building of that house in 1980 and it burning, I met and married Michael Florescu. We met in New York. We came out here every summer. He was really the only person I'd ever met who seemed to want to live in the country. He was from London, exotic fellow for me, raised in a Jewish family in London, remembered the war, remembered the buzz bombs. His family had gotten out of the city during the war years, but he remembered the war very distinctly. And I suppose he had that depth of feeling that I trusted and I knew I could learn from. I'd grown up with a family very afraid of feelings, afraid of spirit, afraid of psyche, afraid of any expression of heart. And Mike loved this place as much as I did. So when I took early retirement from my teaching job in New York, he said, yeah, let's go live in the country. And I was barely 60, and he was up in his 60s, but we were young enough to think, this is a new life, we'll start something new. We were very open to whatever we found. And we began, I was gardening, I've always been gardening. And he said, well, I'll take vegetables into Madison, we'll sell at farmers markets. And he began to take veg into Hilldale, and we sold in Spring Green. And I would get up at 4:30 in the summer morning and, bundle the radishes and wash the lettuce, and he'd take it into market, and he'd come back with $40. And we began to think, it's fun to do this, but maybe we can't think of this as earning a living. it's part of something bigger. And we are part of something bigger. That sense of a collective, that sense of a longer history, that sense of, I have rocks, kind of a cave up behind my barn, which has marks on the rocks where tribal people sharpened whatever, arrowheads or flint knives. This is ancient land, and uniquely situated to be the land that the last glacier didn't flatten, and the land that has probably the oldest rocks and the oldest water, maybe in the world. If there's anything to say about that bird's eye view of this place that you took, you're really the first person who's seen this place from above, kind of a third eye on it. What strikes me is how it makes this place part of a big world where people have been growing food and growing animals and growing tribal life for centuries. And I love those images that you took. And I'm anxious to show them to my friends in Sicily, because it really says, yes, you have a little farm and a little garden and a little restaurant, but you are part of something way bigger.